Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the day 2 update to the character. We are currently at a 21 hours play, so we did another 10-hour session of gaming on the character. A little bit of that is AFK time, obviously, for video editing and stuff like that. But currently we are level 80. We didn't do the most, what's the word? Efficient leveling today. We got a little bit distracted trying to craft gear and buy some things. Trade was a bit obnoxious trying to get people to respond, but this is what the tree looks like now. We've officially swapped out of the tree where we had a bunch of energy shield combined with mana, combined with life, and now we are actually just a pure energy shield based character. The Mind Over Matter setup was only meant to get us to the end of the campaign, and then once we got a little bit of ES gear, roughly get around like 1500 to 2000 ES, I'd recommend start looking at swapping out of the Mind Over Matter nodes, getting rid of the mana regen, you shouldn't need it anymore, and investing those nodes into more energy shield nodes and more chaos damage nodes. We now have this wheel over here as well for higher wither effect, along with a jewel socket. And we have picked up a bunch of recharge nodes along with percent ES nodes all over the tree to make the ES feel fairly comfy. Along with that, we also added in the additional second set of curses. Now, whenever we do despair, it is an instantaneous application. The delay does not occur at all once you get this second set of curse nodes, and your weapon set rotates between the DPS nodes and these curse nodes, and it should feel fairly consistent. Another thing we did on this character is we swapped into Itziri's Disdain. The main benefit of the Lich, or at least I think the main benefit of the Lich, is this Eternal Life node and what it does in terms of an ES build in terms, I keep saying in terms, that is defensively. Eternal Life says basically if damage bypasses your ES and the ES is still there, you just don't take the damage. So when you combine Itziri's Disdain, 10% damage bypasses energy shield, this small node, heavy buffer, 5% damage bypasses energy shield, and the Lich node earlier on in the passive tree, which is 10% bypass, you end up taking 25% less damage from this node. Initially, when we're then in the early stage of the character, we're just getting this node doesn't really do anything. When you have the Mind Over Matter, it's not really protecting you. It's just kind of whatever. But once you swap into ES, it actually feels very good defensively, and it's going to really shine for the character, as potentially later on we could have a corruption that could make this the same, get a little bit more damage reduction out of it, that sort of thing. On top of that, the other benefit is once you go pure ES and you actually have some recharge investment on your tree, you can then grab Eldritch Empowerment, which is just a straight up 30% more damage node. And then later on, our last Ascensi point, I think we'll do a Jewel Socket. A lot of people have asked me about Explode. I am not a big fan of Explode in terms of Contagion will already chain between packs anyways, so I don't feel Explode is really going to change our clear at all. You can grab this if you really just want the dopamine hits. I don't believe it will improve the clear much, but I would recommend if you're going to do it, you need to add a little bit more spirit onto the build and then grab a Blasphemy Aura to promote it. Something like Blasphemy Tempt Chains or Blasphemy Enfeeble. I would rather just have the pure power of the Jewel Socket, but you can make that decision for yourself. Okay, so that's going over the tree. As for gear upgrades, what did we do? Today we had grabbed a decent chest piece where we put iron runes to get percent ES onto it, so we have a good ES chest piece, and this is where we're getting the bulk of our energy shield. Over half of our energy shield is from this one item right here. And then we tried to get a bit more cast speed on rings, so that way our character feels a bit less clunky and a bit more smooth, being able to, I guess it unequipped our essence drain when we were weapon swapping in and out. A bit more smooth in terms of the dual cast. Our cast speed's now quite good, and that feels pretty good there. Another gear piece upgrades we went for besides the cast speed is we went for a +2 amulet. I'd recommend buying a blue one and do a greater haste essence, which guarantees cast speed. About a 50% chance you could get 15% or higher cast speed from doing this, and then blind slam the rest of the affixes. That's how we made this here. We bought an amulet that had +2 and some percent ES already on it for like 10x or something like that. And then we did a greater essence of haste to get cast speed and then slam the rest of the affixes. Mana recoup, flat mana, not particularly beneficial for this character, but a little bit of spell damage was nice to hit. After that, for the other items, if you're looking to make yourself a wand, I would recommend doing Greater Essence of Ruin on a +4 wand is a good way to get percent chaos damage and then slam on for other affixes. Cast speed is nice here. And then similar for Jingling Focus, you can do a Greater Ruin Essence as well. I hit Chaos Res on mine, which is unfortunate, but I was trying to hit Chaos damage. We hit cold damage on here. Later on, I'll probably sell this to somebody playing a cold build and get a more proper focus for our character, but it works for now. So that goes over most of the gear pieces. These will all be on the planner, which I have now updated more thoroughly. The planner includes better advice on gem links here for starting leveling skills and late game skills. I've added order of importance for gem cutters. I would start out with Withering Presence, then probably do Essence Drain, then Contagion, then Covalescence, then probably Blink, then probably Despair is probably the way I'd prioritize it. We have also added in leveling trees. So if you're progressing the character and you want an idea of what the character should look like at level 13, 25, 35, just giving you advice on how to spec out the tree as you level it. This is exactly what I did throughout my entire run through the campaign. And then, of course, our current tree, which is this right here on the build. I will continue to add and update this character tree, as well as we have our campaign gear, our early ES gear when we first did the swap, and the current gear on the character right now. And then I will try to update stuff to the note section about different things. Like I get asked a lot on what vials we did, elemental ailment threshold, chaos threshold, but if there's more common questions I keep getting asked, I'll add it to the FAQ. I'll probably add this build showcase video over here, along with maybe I'll keep updating the more recent showcases of the build. And then I think that goes over all the stuff with the planner. We have the gear sets, this stuff. Like I'll keep updating this as I fill out my Atlas tree. I'll add to this as well. Right now I only have 2 passes on the tree. I have just these first 2 nodes. But I'll keep updating this as I go. The planner is going to be in the description of this video, and it'll be in the description of my YouTube live stream, and it'll be a command, which is, I think, !Lich planner in the Twitch stream as well. So yeah, that's currently what's going on with this character. As for a showcase of the build, let's get into it right now. I have a boss tier 12 map, which is our highest tier map we're at. I think it's tier 12 or tier 11. And let's just get a look at what the character looks like in gameplay. As for gameplay itself, people have asked me about doing Dark Effigy, Hex Blast, or trying to tag in some extra ability. For the most part, I don't like extra clunk, and I don't feel our damage is an issue. You can add in Effigy or Hex Blast for extra damage. It's just going to add in extra buttons and make the build a bit more clunkier, but will help you kill a single target boss a bit faster. So you can make that decision for yourself. I like the playstyle right now, which is just simply Essence Drain, Contagion, Despair on hard enemies, and then if we start taking a lot of damage, we can activate Convalescence. I'm going to say it right this time, but I'm going to probably mess it up in the future all the time when I stream. When I first read this on PUDB, I literally, for whatever reason, did not see an N, did not see the LE in the middle there, and I just said, like, covalence or something. I don't freaking know. Doesn't really matter. This is basically a Val Discipline, if you know that in PoE 1. It activates your recharge. It gives you a bunch of sustain. Let me try to demonstrate this real quick. Let me find an enemy. Like, let's say we're getting hit. We're like, oh no, we're taking damage. And we're worried we can't sustain it. Press T, activates recharge. And your recharge will proc right away. You don't have to wait for it. And it doesn't get interrupted. This thing has a 30-second cooldown. Maybe later on we might try putting like Ingenuity on it instead of Blink. That's kind of up to you if you want to do it. But that is real nice defensive mechanism. I think it's stronger than Grimfeast personally. Having on-demand recharge in order to sustain when you actually need it is very important, I would say. And then as for gameplay, we are just simply Contagion Essence Drain, having a good old time. Oh, another thing I'll say is, for those wondering about Blink, how are we blinking? Weapon set 2, we have Blink active for that, which means if I were to say, let's say our weapon set has the Despair Curse, I like, instead of just manually weapon swap, it's a little bit more efficient to start the curse and then you can animation cancel, instantly blink, which is a little bit faster than waiting for the weapon set swap to occur. I think it seems to be faster to me. Also, it just means you don't necessarily have to have an extra keybind, which is nice too. So that's how we're blinking, in case you're wondering. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. I like to keep things simple and as high QL as possible. So that's what I've been going for on the character. Hopefully I'm covering the most important things. Oh, another important thing that I didn't cover yesterday was the better trading. So you see we took damage there and we could just pop our basically Val Discipline. That's how we get out of those dangerous situations. I went to go over this yesterday. The better trading. I'm going to go over it after the after we finish clearing this map, find wherever the boss is this map. Better trading is, I have it set up for a search for pretty much every item in the character, which allows you to essentially have a weighted sum search for a lot of rares. Hopefully gives you the ability to buy some decent gear pieces on a budget, and then later on you can up the weightings to find better and better items. I'll go over that after I clear this map. I think outside of that, I've covered most of the important parts. Oh, sometimes people ask me about charms, or not charms, but ask me about the Act 2 thingy. I just grabbed the charm charge gain. We don't really use our mana flask. We don't really use a life flask, so that's generally what we stick to. Early on in the campaign, you could start out with mana recovery, because initially, when you're playing the Mind Over Matter, you do need the mana flask a lot for sustaining. But outside of that, once you get to the ES setup, you don't use it all, so you're going to want to swap it over to just purely charge gains. Now, this is a boss map. I don't know where the boss is. I feel like I've been wandering around for a really long time, so hopefully we find the boss soon. I did one of these recently. It was the Grotto map, I think, gave us the big skeleton guy last time I did a map like this. Hopefully I can find where he's taken. Eventually. Gotta be here somewhere. Is this it? I think this is it. Yep, this looks like it. So boss fights, very, very straightforward. All you need to do is keep your essence drain dot up. You only have to cast like once every 5 seconds. And then outside of that, it's just despair, and make sure you stay within range for your wither to tick up. You'll see this wither, this number right here at the top near the boss bar, 42%. It's gonna say 49 next. That is our wither stacking up on the boss as we remain inside his presence. Right now we have a long enough duration to get to, I believe it's about 9. It's going between 8 and 9 wither stacks. But when we get like 1 skill effect duration suffix on a jewel plus getting a higher level withering presence, the ticks will happen faster, the duration will be a bit longer, and we will hit full stacks of 10 wither, and it'll be 70% increased damage taken on bosses, which will be pretty dang nice. This character lets you have very high mobility to dodge mechanics because you only have to cast Essence Drain every few seconds, and then everything else can just be pure movement, staying alive, along with the fact we're going to be continuing to make this ES number go up. Right now, our ES gear is not very good. I fully suspect this character will get to 15k ES, and then on the high end, I would think 20k is possible, and you'll just be face tanking pretty much everything, along with having high mobility to dodge stuff. So I'm looking forward to speccing this out more as we continue to upgrade it. Anyways, that's the showcase of what it looks like in a red tier map. Now, real quick, I'd like to show you what and how the better trading works. So if you look in the note section of our planner, you'll notice this long string of text. And this is in the PUB note section as well. I haven't updated the PUB yet, but I will be doing that later on. I'm not going to do it tonight because it's getting a little bit late. You will want to highlight over, Control-C. And then if you look at this right here, this better trading extension, you can get it on Chromium-based browsers like Chrome or Brave or something like that. I think it no longer works on Firefox for my testing, which is unfortunate for PoE 2. It still seems to work for PoE 1 stuff, so I'll probably use it on for PoE 1 stuff as well. But you simply do import folder, Control-V, and you should see a bookmark that says Chaos Lich, and it should look like an Annulment Orb. You click save, and now you'll have all these searches. These are basically just nice little items for the build. For example, Doedries is really good for leveling a lot of % damage. Its Ares Disdain is our ideal helmet. And then we have rare weighted sum searches for all our other gear slots, because most of our gear slots are going to be just rares. What is this for, and what does it do? Rare Jewel Search, for example, I have a list of all the relevant mods for the build. I have given each of these mods weightings, and you will simply decide for yourself, hey, my build can't really, maybe, I don't know, one Exalt, maybe you say, that's pretty cheap, I want to get a better jewel. You can go through and increase the weighting. Say you want to get a 110 jewel. This will show you jewels that are All of a sudden they jumped up to one divine. It'll show you better jewels based on the weighting, and you can search down here. The weighted sum, if you click this, will sort to the highest weighting on trade based on the weighting we have here. There's one up for 30x. This is a pretty good one. Am I tempted to buy that? 15 and 12 and stun threshold? Nah, I'm not gonna buy it. But anyways, that's what this is. The way it works is I designed or picked out some weightings for various mods. I think I weighted Wither probably too low. I should have weighted this higher because Wither is actually a pretty good affix. But anyways, the point is I gave weightings to each of these affixes so that way when you click search, it'll find you a jewel with relevant stats and it can assess value for it. And this goes for all the different rare items. I've weighted spell damage at 5. For example, I weighted recharge rate at 2, percent ES at 3. And between all of the different stats in the jewel, you'll get a total number, and that's the total value of the item. That's kind of how it works. It's a way of making it so if you just search for an item with, let's say, 30 cold res and 30 fire res, that has 60 total res on it, it will eliminate an item that would have 40 fire res and 20 cold res, which is an item that also has 60 res, which is equivalent value. And this says, I value the stats. Show me the item that just hits that value, which expands your search to a lot more items. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correctly. Point is, for the character, I have these set up. Just adjust the weighting up here based on when you want to upgrade. Like, let's say you want to get an item that's more in the 250 range. Here, you can up that. Or you can check the item that has the highest value on currently right now. Or you can even get a little bit more fancy with it and say, my budget is 10x at most. You search for 10x and you say, what's the highest weighting that is 10x? This ring right here is the highest weighting on trade that is 10x. One thing I will say about this trade search is I have left out rarity entirely. It's just purely power based. If you want to include rarity onto your gear to start magic finding a little bit, you can add that into your weighted summon search for any of these just by saying rarity and giving it a weight based on how much you value rarity. That is up to you. Anyways, that is what that's for. It's just to help you get a quick way to search for decent items for the character and a way to evaluate how powerful items are. I like to include these in builds. I do, so that way people have a good idea of how to get good items based on a reasonable price. And another thing I've been asked a lot, I'll include real quick at the end here. People have been asking me, hey, I just dropped a Divine. What do I spend this money on? Don't have like any upgrades at all. I'd recommend selling the Divine for Exalts and buy multiple different gear pieces. I don't really recommend just spending one Divine on one expensive gear piece. I think it's much better to split that up into Exalts and get yourself multiple different upgrades. Particularly, I would prioritize, and this is not necessarily if you have a Divine worth of currency, but if you just have your first few Exalts, prioritize gem level upgrades on the amulet, the shield, and the wand, along with percent damage. Those are your most priority upgrades in order to get decent damage, and I would highly suggest going for those first before you start looking at defensive upgrades later on in the character. That's what I would advise. Anyways, it's getting late. I'm going to go to bed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this second update of the character. Tomorrow we're going to actually probably grind out some levels and really start to push some of the endgame content. I'm pretty happy with where the character is right now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the update. As always, thanks for watching Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.